Hi everyone. So today I have finished reading The Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, and I also finished the movie. And after these two events, I really need to just talk everything through, so if you're watching this to get a spoiler-free review, then you should probably stop, because I am going to need to talk it through to really try to understand it. So here it goes. I am commencing with the review that has spoilers. So, as far as the novel The Watchmen goes, it is extremely heavy in dialogue, not just between characters, but also text. There will be a conversation between characters, and then you'll have the end of a chapter, and you'll come to a block of text like this, where it will describe certain events or characters, but they always have something to do with the book. This is a very complex novel, I feel. There are a lot of layers to it. The first thing that you should know that I wasn't aware of, maybe I'm a dumb blonde that way, but The Watchmen is set in an alternate history. It's 1985, but it's 1985 in a world where superheroes, masked avengers, masked adventurers, what have you, once existed. And it's a world that is on the brink of nuclear collapse. At the end, or at the beginning of every chapter, there's a picture of a doomsday clock, which is getting closer and closer to midnight. And I guess there are so many layers in this book, but at the heart of it is there's been a murder, and one man is trying to figure out the murder and if there are going to be more victims, similar to the first. The first victim was a man who called himself the Comedian, and then the man who is investigating it, unofficially of course, is called Rorschach. And Rorschach, it gets it into his head that there is someone who is hunting for people who were once masked heroes, and he goes to warn his various friends. One of whom is the smartest, wealthiest man in the world, who is Mr. Veidt. And then there's another man whose name is Dan, aka Night Owl, who starts a relationship with a woman named Jenny. What's her name? Anyway, Silk Spectre was her superhero name. And they all uncover a plot that Veidt, aka Ozymandias, started, in which he is going to prevent nuclear war by creating a disaster of such enormous scope that it unites all the countries of the world and prevents nuclear disaster. So I guess if you've followed any of that at all, I guess the point of The Watchmen is to make you is to have you reflect on what is a superhero, what makes a superhero. Because Veidt is someone who is wealthy and smart, aka Bruce Wayne. But what he does to stop the possibility of nuclear war, is that something that a superhero would do? Does that justify his actions? And one of the characters, Dr. Manhattan, who is extremely powerful because of an accident he suffered in a lab, decides that yes, it does. Initially he was going to expose Veidt, but he actually realizes that this disaster has united the world and no one can know what really happened. Rorschach disagrees, but Dr. Manhattan kills Rorschach before Rorschach can tell anyone. He thinks. At the end of the book, there's a scene, or panels, I guess, where you see Rorschach kept a journal throughout the novel. And just before he and Night Owl confront Veidt, he leaves it at this radical newspaper called The New Frontiersman. So at the end of the novel, there's a scene at the headquarters of The New Frontiersman where they're trying to decide what story to run. And one of the reporters says, well, you can pick something out of the Crank file. And in the Crank file, you see Rorschach's journal. So I think that you're supposed to come out of this with two different ideas, or come out of it with two different things. One, what makes a superhero, and the other, that Veidt ultimately won't get away with what has happened. So that's how I felt about the book. I'm actually confused by the book. That's his synopsis of it. Talking it out has helped a little bit. As far as the movie goes, it was pretty close to the, it was very close to the book. There weren't a whole lot of great leaps away from what happened, which I found kind of boring, because I don't watch, with very few exceptions, I don't watch the movie to see the book. Like I expect deviations from the book in the movie, if I'm making any sense at all. But the thing about The Watchmen is that first of all, it is a graphic novel, so pretty much everything is in storyboard format already. I think that filmmakers must love making graphic novels into movies, because everything is there for you already. Half the work's done. There were a couple of, the biggest sort of departure from the book was that instead of the creature that Veidt used to create the disaster in the book is not in the movie. In the movie, he creates a situation where everyone blames Dr. Manhattan for these huge disasters, so that all the nations of the world are focused on making sure that Dr. Manhattan doesn't do it again, which I actually thought made more sense than what happened in the book. In the book, Veidt has a team of scientists and others create a creature that, with psychic residue or psychic powers, that he drops on various cities that destroys a huge part of the population, and so everyone thinks that it's an attack from outer space. So I thought that was random, but the movie visually was okay. It was okay. I mean, really, the movie was okay. That's really all I can say about it. The Priscilla from the Readables gave it, I think, 2 or 3 stars out of 5, and I would have to agree with that. I think I'm going to have to think about this book for a while before I can really wrap my head around it. The rating I would give the book would be probably... would it probably be 3 out of 5 stars, just because I'm reading it and I'm reading it and reading it, and I get to the end and I'm like, really? That's it? So yeah. I hope that this review made sense at all, at any point. That would have been nice. But I'm just completely confused by this particular book. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you next time. Bye!